Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I may say happy Thanksgiving a few times because I don't know if I'm actually live yet or not. So you'll have to endure hearing happy Thanksgiving probably several times. Okay. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. While I, usually the first couple of minutes of the live video, I'm usually just kind of giving everybody a quick heads up that I'm live on YouTube. So if everybody will bear with me, I'll try to be as quick about it as I can. AstroTalk live Thanksgiving, if we can spell that correctly. And for all of you who are beginning to join, welcome. Glad to have you here. You can go ahead and begin to put your astrological questions over in the chat window. What this is an opportunity for you to ask questions about specific components of astrology. I do ask that people restrict themselves from asking questions about their own individual personal horoscopes. A couple of different reasons behind that. I really need to have your full horoscope in front of me in order to answer the question in order to answer the question accurately. I got it backwards there. I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. In order to answer your questions accurately, I really need to have your full horoscope in front of me. Plus, I do this professionally, so I would prefer not to give it away for free all the time. So if you want to ask a specific question about specific components of astrology, please feel free to type it away in the chat window. I'm almost done. Well, I don't need to put that on YouTube because you're all on YouTube. Okay. Yes, I am live, and I think I'm alive as well. If you have any specific questions related to astrological things, feel free to ask away. We've got an eclipse coming up on the 4th of December. Many of you probably have seen my eclipse video the other day that I just put out. There's an extra added layer to that. In the eclipse video, I'm talking about how it's an opportunity to be bold. Notice I said it's an opportunity to be bold, though. The energy of the eclipse is likely going to make you feel, well, like you're wanting to question something that you're beginning to see in a situation, right? Like you're looking for an opportunity and a way to bring about transformation, but you've been waiting for the perfect opportunity. Only thing is a perfect opportunity is beginning to present itself, but you're seeing it as imperfect, right? And as that is happening, one of the things that's going on with that is when you have either Rahu or Ketu and another cruel planet, in this instance, the sun, and also you've got the moon present with that, and you have another planet that's with them, it creates something called shame, right? There's something called the Lajatati avastas. Lajatati means shame and other avastas, right? So the Lajatati avastas, one of the prime ones is Lajita avasta, which actually results in shame. And that can happen, one of the ways that happens, I should say, is when you have the nodes in a cruel planet and another planet in there with it, that other planet gets shamed. In this instance, you'd have both Moon and Mercury getting shamed. Those are the Vaisha planets. So those are the planets that are about interchange. They're about perception and expression, taking something in, giving something back. And so during the eclipse period, there's some shame around those two planets. And those two planets relate to one's mental capacity, how you're perceiving something, whether you're using discretion, all of those things. So all of those things are going to be rising to the surface and making you question whether an opportunity that's on offer for you is actually a good opportunity. And I want to talk to you about an opportunity here in a moment, but I want to answer a couple of questions here that I'm seeing in the chat window. What are good questions for your 30-minute readings? Good questions for 30-minute readings can be anything. One that I don't handle in the 30-minute readings, though, is what a person should do for their occupation, because it takes a lot of prep time for that. So generally, what I tell people with the 30-minute consultations is have one specific question that you're looking for an answer for in mind. and then have some backup questions just in case. Sometimes there's leftover time after we get to your question, and I am willing at that time to handle on-the-spot questions if you are patient with me researching your questions on the spot, because I believe in doing good, accurate work. So really, you can ask anything, but try to make it very focused and to the point, and that's likely how you're going to get the most out of your consultation, right? And by the way, if you go in and schedule a half-hour consultation, those are presently on special offer for $69 today. What I'll do is I'll put a link in the chat window to that for you, and I'll go into the other special announcements that I was going to talk about before we take some more astrology-related questions, which you're more than welcome to enter over in the chat window. Please bring them on. I'm ready for them. Okay, so goodness gracious, it's not letting me type things in the chat window here. Let's try that again. It's being fussy. Let's do edit, copy, and now let's try that. There we go, that worked. That's to my astrological services page where you can schedule the half-hour consultation for $69. In addition to that, my course bundles, they're all on special offer as part of the Teal Thursday offer, but the all courses bundle, I'm reducing for tonight only until midnight Eastern time from $559 to $399, which is quite a reduction. There's there's so many hours of course material on that. It's like every single course that's on the Academy. You're getting really quite a lot and really beyond a super bargain for that, okay? In addition to that, if you want to schedule the 3 90-minute consultation package, I'll do that for you for the same price. Plus, you get all the courses at the Academy just for scheduling that. So both of those are on sale for $399. And you can also, if you're just interested in the course bundle, you can go here. One last special offer, and then I promise I'll get off the marketing tip for a bit. So the other thing is I'm also doing gift cards through the site. So if you have a friend who wants a consultation, you can actually go to the next link and get a gift card for them, and they can schedule a consultation on their own. Piggybacking on the 30-minute question, do we get a PDF of our chart that you are using? Yes, you can get a PDF of the main birth chart. But the thing is I'm not going to just use your main birth chart. I generally tend to go with what I'm looking into, and my intuition may lead me naturally into other Varga charts. I'm happy to send those to you as well, but you'll have to remind me each one we used, okay? So it's not that difficult to send the PDFs. It's just difficult to remember what Varga charts I was looking at for a person. Okay, tell you a figure. What type of a figure I used? I'm not sure what you mean. If you mean for the consultations or something, I'm not really sure. Okay, what degree is the eclipse happening at? Let's find out. Okay, so let's do our handy dandy adjusting the birth time on the 4th of December so we can get it to line up specifically with, we're going to judge it from when the moon is exactly new, but the eclipse happens usually prior to that. You'll see the actual eclipse, and it's going to be a different time. I know you weren't asking time. It's going to be a different time on different parts of the planet. So the way to judge what degree it's happening at is to judge the new moon in that particular instance. And I think that we're looking at, sorry, I have to move the birth time around for you on my software, 12 degrees and 22 minutes of Sagittarius. And now you're going to go, oh, wait, that's tropical. Yes, I use tropical zodiac with sidereal nakshatras. I do that because I generally find it more accurate after extensive testing. Okay? Okay. Let's see what else we get. That's A plus getting the visual helpful of a reading. Yes, most definitely, which is why I do that. Okay, so please feel free to ask away at some other astrology related questions. It's a really powerful time, this eclipse season, a little more intensive than other eclipses because we kind of got it all started with a lunar eclipse, which was preceded by the moon crossing over Uranus at the same time Mars and Uranus were opposing each other. I don't usually focus on the outer planets, but that was very explosive energy. And so quite often it's good to look at some of the other things that are there underneath the surface. Please feel free to ask away at your questions. I can't answer any if you're not asking any. And as you likely, oh yeah, here's something else to talk to you about. I'm actually, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I kind of crossed the threshold of doing really technical things with my website, like setting up a server, which is, really a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So I'm very proud of myself doing that. But at the same time, very soon, pulseoftheuniverse.com is going to become michaelreedastrology.com. But you can access the website through either. And right now, Michael Reed Astrology is not set up yet, but probably will be within the next couple of days, if not sooner. But if you enter pulseoftheuniverse.com, it'll take you there as well. It's just something that I'm excited about. How do we traverse the portal between eclipses? Well, the way you traverse the portal is by focusing on what the eclipse relates to in your own personal horoscope and bringing your attention to the matters that are at hand. In other words, attention to the matters that the eclipse is stirring in your own personal horoscope. And again, that's always going to be different for every single person, dependent upon planets that it's setting off in your horoscope, what house it's falling in, so many different things. All right, let's see if there's any other questions in the chat window. If not, please ask me some more. I'm only on here for a little bit tonight because I also went on to Facebook Live. And so after a little bit of time, you begin to kind of lose your throat. Okay. And something I was going to say to you that I always say here, if you don't want me to continually market, you have to ask questions, right? So here we go. I'm getting ready to market. Let's see if we get people asking questions in the chat window. Right. So there's so many different special offers that are open on my site. I think sometimes I'm confusing the hell out of everybody because of all the ones that are there. If you go to my astrological services page, if you just want one course, right? If you schedule a 60-minute consultation, you get one course. Best of all consultations are on special offer at present. But at the same time, if you schedule the 3 90-minute consultation package, it's reduced drastically to $399 for tonight only until midnight Eastern time. And plus you get all the courses at the Academy only for $399. Why do astrologers never do any case studies on death and dying? Why is death taboo in astrology? And in your opinion, is there a way to predict or see someone's death in their chart? I don't think it is that astrologers don't do case studies on death and dying. I've looked into it myself, other astrologers do. It's not necessarily that it's taboo, but it is something to be cautious about. And there's a couple of different reasons. No astrologer has perfect predictive capacity, right? So you're never going to get it perfect. In addition to that, there are stories I've heard of other astrologers who have who have without permission, without being asked, have come out and told someone when they're dying. And I experienced one specific instance of that where an astrologer just told somebody, oh, you're going to die when you're in your 50s, without that person even asking that. And it freaked the person out, right? It has a lot of gravity when people do that. In addition to that, I don't believe in ever asking it without the person asking for it. And I generally only answer the question for people if they're terminally ill. because the thing is when people are terminally ill and they're wanting to know when they're going to pass away so that they can get through the portal of suffering, so to speak, then it's worthwhile looking at that. But otherwise, you're feeding in to the energy of the person believing when they're going to die. And sometimes the more we put energy towards something, the greater the chance that it comes into being. We can, make things happen earlier if we believe in them, and we can get into a panic. And so there's all sorts of reasons why death in astrology should not be taken lightly. It's the best way to say it. And it is hard to get accurate time of death a lot of times too. If you're going to check that particular question for someone, you need to take a look at it from several different angles. Okay. So let's see what else we have in the chat window. Please feel free to put some more questions there. Also, as I was saying earlier, if you're not interested in having the 3 90-minute consultations, then I'll go into the corner and cry because I'll wonder why. I'm just joking. You can also spend $3.99 and just get all the courses, right, that are there. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of different reasons why you don't want to go into the death subject in astrology unless it's, for very specific reasons, right? Much the same concept as a lot of times people are really fascinated by past life things, right? And so they tend to take it very lightly, when in reality, having that knowledge or that understanding is something that's very powerful. And you have to really want it for very specific reasons, right? Because otherwise you might take that information and not be ready for it, is probably a better way to say it. So it's always good from the therapist's perspective to understand why someone wants to know things. Like, why do you want to know about when you're dying? Why do you want to know those things, right? And it's also important to understand no astrologer has 100% perfect predictive capacity. So feel free to ask some further questions over in the chat window. If you want to get a reading or a course for a friend of yours, you can also purchase gift cards through my site. Those are at the link I'm typing in the chat window now. There's a lot of you here. There's a lot of you being quiet. Some of you are lurking and you're holding on to your questions because you just want to watch me lose my voice live on YouTube from talking endlessly, right? So, I think I usually saying licorice would help for my throat from talking too much. I'm not really sure if that's what you're saying. And actually, it might, but really I do a lot of talking. A lot of people don't recognize how much of their day astrologers are talking, right? Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Teresa, for sharing that. Anybody with any other astrological related questions? I can't answer them if you don't ask them. And to be quite honest, my life isn't so interesting that I have tons and tons of things to talk about all the time. I'm an older guy and I like to take it light when I'm not doing astrology. So I don't always have a lot of things to kind of talk about and chat about with you, right? Believe it or not, right? Something I did, let's see what else we've got. Do you think someone is more talented if their planets are distributed into more signs? Not necessarily, because some of those planets might be weaker planets. So in those areas, a person might be less talented, right? So that's the thing you have to understand about it. But I also do something called a complete career analysis. And with that, it turns over several different planets that are career planets for an individual. And with that, you'll quite often see people who have a lot of talents, right? So, sometimes when you see more planets in certain instances, it does mean that, but not in every instance. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay. Would I suggest a price for providing a course to your new group? I'm not really sure what the content of your course is, so that's a little bit difficult to do. And also, I believe you're probably in India, so it's hard for me to give a price to you based upon that, because your economy is probably a lot different than working within the dollar-based economy. So I tell you what, everybody, I've got about 3 or 4 more minutes before I'm just going to kind of lose my throat to doing this live. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Okay, something about the D12, very important, like near second to Rashi. What are your thoughts on the D12? I tend to use the D12 primarily for looking into ancestral things. It also tends to show the, on a certain level, it will show previous lifetime inclinations, because an individual chooses their parents based upon things that they're here to work on in their life, if that makes any sense, right? It works upon the theory that, we've all been interconnected in previous lifetimes. And so people who are our ancestors have karmic debt to us. And so they create the conditions for us to come into being in order to resolve that debt. And we have karmic debt to our ancestors, even if for no other reason than for giving birth to us so that we can resolve our karma. And so there's a contract that's kind of being formed before the whole thought of a person becoming incarnated anyway. And so on that level, it shows a little bit of the conditions and the conditioning that creates the karma in the individual's chart. That's what I use the D12 for. I know a lot of other people use it for a lot of different purposes. Let's see. Talk about what the 12th house means. What is the theme of it? It's a lot of different things. It's a hidden house. It's also a house that can relate to the subconscious. It's a house that can relate to the past. It's a house that can relate to bed pleasures. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more, say no more. It's also a house that relates to liberation. It's also a house that relates to confinement. So many different things, and different factors will determine which of those things and when. Okay, let's see what else we've got. How detailed can an astrological prediction get? Can you get an example of a really detailed prediction? Well, with nakshatras, you can bring out a lot of the subtleties. As well, when you work with Varga deities, you can do the same. On another level, a good thing to understand is accuracy of a prediction. Like, I know some really excellent techniques that I've been, blessed with learning from other teachers that can show sometimes the exact day that an event will happen. And I use that technique for someone. I've actually had good luck with it several times with that. But one that I remember particularly was I was predicting when a person would get a job, and I saw that it was going to be on New Year's Day, but we both thought that was going to be odd. And I even said, I think that's odd though, because who's going to call you on New Year's Day? And sure enough, their phone rang on New Year's Day and they got offered a job. So it can get really detailed and it can get really precise. But sometimes it can go a little bit off too. So it depends on the accuracy at the birth time, so many different factors. And also quite often God just steps into the equation and goes, this person gets an accurate prediction and that one doesn't. And the astrologer can't control that no matter how hard they try. Okay. So let's see if there's any other questions that are here in the chat window. I think we're running out of questions at the same time that I'm running out of voice. So I will mention once again, all consultations are presently reduced in price through the link that I'm going to give here. In addition to that, the 30-minute consultations reduced a little bit more to $69. If you schedule in the 3 90-minute consultation package, it's only $399. You get 4.5 hours of consulting time for that. Plus, you get all the courses at the Academy absolutely free. That's only on offer tonight until midnight Eastern time. In addition to that, if you want just the courses and you're going, I don't really need the consultations, hey, I'll understand that. But at the same time, you can get the all course bundle for that exact same price. I typed that into the chat window also. And also gift cards if you want them for giving astrology to a friend. And that's also being typed in the chat window now. Okay, so let's see. Are people with Kala Sarpa Yoga doomed? Yeah, if they have a huge attachment to control, because we're never in control, even though we think we are, But if you learn surrender, then you're not really doomed, right? Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for the opportunity of coming on and for joining me here. I'll talk to everybody the next time that I'm live on YouTube.